Hey, good morning, guys. It is late July, but I know fall is just around the corner, and so I thought we'd go ahead and paint this two-stack pumpkin with a pretty flower down in the corner and an owl up above. We may make him slightly bigger, and then the moon behind him. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on the sky in the background. I'm using pure Prussian blue, pure dark blue. And I'm painting on cardboard, guys, so my texture could turn out a little bit different than yours. So if mine is streaky and yours is not, please don't worry about that. I'm just using, I'm basically recycling, upcycling, whatever, using things around the house. So I'm just going to show you the basics here, and then you can go with it. Just getting that, all the background. All that background is blue. So be sure to wet your brush just a little bit to make that paint glide a little bit easier. Oh, don't put the blue down underneath. I just realized that has to be brown with, it's the ground. So, yeah, I was not thinking there. So we'll just go a little bit, go about right there. It's good enough. I don't know what I was thinking. Just outline it, keep your brush wet. Not too wet, you don't want it drippy. Like I said, I'm using straight Prussian blue. It gives a nice dark night sky. And we'll come back and do some stars. Just some white dots or something to indicate that there are stars out. So just paint the whole background. That whole background dark blue, Prussian blue. And get it smoothed out to where you want it. Like I said, I'm on cardboard, so mine's gonna soak in a little weird as opposed to if you're on a canvas or wood. Yours probably won't leave streaks like mine. I'm not gonna worry about mine, but smooth yours out. If you have to stop the video, go ahead and stop the video and then move on. I'm just gonna get the basic colors down. And so next I'm gonna get white on the sky, on the moon. Keep your brush wet. This is sometimes the white, I'm just using, oops, now I dripped. I'm not gonna worry about that right now because I can fix that, so. Anything's fixable. So go ahead and color in your moon. We'll be adding some color to that to make it a little bit more make it more look like the moon. You know, the moon has a face, the man on the moon. We aren't going to put the face in it, but okay, so I'm going to outline that owl, my white. If your brush starts getting tacky, that's when you know to dip your brush in a little bit of water. All right, so you guys can use a flat brush for these bigger areas, whatever you feel comfortable with. It does a flat brush does fill in the space quicker. And again, mine is leaving streaks. I'm not going to worry about it. Yours should be much smoother, which I'm sure it is. And we're going to be layering, so it doesn't matter. We're going to be adding more white, a touch of blue, a little bit of tan. So this moon is going to have some color to it other than just white. So all right. I hope my fan isn't that loud. Okay. So I'm actually gonna grab a large, I'm gonna actually grab this one. Maybe it'll smooth it out a little bit more. All right. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the pumpkins next and get the base color on those, which is orange. Now, when I do the pumpkins, we're going to come back and do different colors. We're going to add brown and yellow. But right now, let's just get that orange on there. Again, you can use a flat, you can use an oval, you can use an angled. If you want to use a large angled, that would probably be good for this. You can kind of get that edge a little better. I'm not going to worry about staying in the lines. I never do. You can make a more full flower if you want. And you know what I forgot to do, guys? I'm going to hold this up to the camera because I forgot to do that in the very, very beginning. I'm going to hold it up so you guys can take a screenshot of it and you guys can sketch it out, okay? I forgot to do that. Okay, I'm going to do it right now before I forget. Or if you guys can just see it, let me see if I can pull it. Okay, I'm going to roll it down so, let's see, where's my edge? There we go. Okay, can you see it good enough to get the sketch done? I'll hold still for a second. Screenshot that. And hopefully you got the flower in there too. Okay, so now I'm going to go and grab some brown. I'm going to actually switch to a smaller angle brush, so I'm going to go with some of the dark brown, which is raw umber. The orange that I used was just cadmium orange, basic orange. So let's get the stems done. We'll probably come back and add some green to it. But we'll get it brown for the base color. And we'll go ahead and put the stem in front. We'll just go ahead and color in the stem here because we may put him in front of that, but we want that stem fully covered in the background, so we don't want any white marks if we can bypass that. All right, now we're going to put some brown down around the ground because I forgot. I started painting it blue. Using raw umber right now just to get some color. I'm down on the bottom, so all right, that's good enough. Okay, let's go ahead and start on those. Let's go ahead and start on those pumpkins. Let's get going on those, and then we can move on to another thing. All right, so make sure I'm going to get a larger angled brush, or you could use one of these ovals, or you could use a straight. It's totally up to you what you feel comfortable with. I might even, you know what, I'm going to go with the oval. Get it wet first. Always wet your brush first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some orange. I'm going to grab some brown on one side and some yellow ochre on the other side. All right, guys? So you kind of have this mixture. So you want that brown to be the shaded area. So orange, brown, and yellow ochre. So then you go to the next, and see how that causes like a ridge? That highlight causes a ridge. So same thing over and over again. Up here I'm going to reverse it and get that highlight up above. Orange, brown, and yellow ochre. Oops. Orange back in there. And if you want to put a little extra of the highlight, you go right ahead because you're going to want to do that. So it's okay. It helps show that raised area, raised spot of that pumpkin. And then if you feel you got a little bit too much, come back with a little bit of orange and fill it in. So I'm going to go with straight orange and yellow ochre, and I'm going to go right here. Go right in that center. Blend that in. So I'm going to leave it. I'm good with that. Okay, let's go do the bottom one. Same thing, same thing. Okay, some yellow, whoops, orange, yellow, and brown. Come back with a little bit of yellow. Give that up there because that's where the moon is hitting that pumpkin, so it's going to be a little bit brighter. We're actually going to probably come back with a little bit of a brighter yellow. You can add a little bit of white to that and it'll be a brighter. So then go to the next ridge. And I'm bringing in orange again to get that blended in. Now this, my brown disappeared over here, right above that ridge. So I'm going to come back with brown and work that in a little bit to create that shadow. Okay? Alright, let's go do it again. So yellow, orange, and brown. I went right over the top of my flower because I'm not worried about it. So I'm going to grab a little bit more yellow again and see if I can just do it again. I have a lot of the other colors on my brush already, so I'm just going to keep going. Alright, so I'm going to add a little bit of brown and orange mixed and come back and get this blended a little bit more, because I'm going to bring in that brown. Wherever you see that you don't have enough of something, go ahead and just put that alone on the tip of your brush and bring it back. It'll stand out a little bit more. Okay, so the front, I'm going to go straight orange. And you guys can use this technique in anything that you paint. I'm going to bring in my brush is getting tacky, so I'm putting it in water so it blends a little bit better. That is perfect right in there. I like that. So let's bring in a little bit of this. Oops, that was a little bit too much. I'm going to come back in with that brown-orange mixture. A little bit more brown because I lost that shadow right in here. Now I'm going to come back with that yellow, straight yellow, and bring in that edge again here. And I'm going to call this good for now. So what you can do is use cadmium yellow. So I'm going to go cadmium yellow and white. And let's give it a little bit of highlight here from the moon. Let's just do it on one side. Okay. You can blend that in if you want. Or if you like it bold like that, you can sure go ahead and leave it bold. Dip your brush a little bit in water, not a lot, to move that paint around a little bit more. Alright, I'm going to leave that. We can actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and do it on both sides since the moon is coming around. Go ahead and paint your flower down below with the center of yellow. Let's grab a touch of green and that yellow-white mix you just did. Let's mix that in there. a little bit of brown. And let's put some green in that stem. Just a little bit. And then let's come back with some tan. That would be raw sienna. It's a medium. I call it a medium. Let's bring some streaks back into that on the top side of that stem. I'm going to call that good. All right, I'm going to clean my brush out really good. You can dry brush some raw sienna strokes down on the bottom if you want. And then maybe even a little bit of black. Kind of give it a dark ground look. It doesn't have to be, I'll show you. I'll show you. It doesn't have to be realistic, just a darker bottom. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and work that moon. So I'm going to take Prussian blue, a lot of white. Prussian blue. Just a touch of Prussian blue. Let's add more white to it. So let's give it some blue tint to it. Maybe in the center. Wet your brush down. You don't want solid streaks here. Okay? Wet your brush down. And just work it into that moon, to that white background. I may have to change, I'm going to change my brush. I'm going to change it back to my big one. My big crazy one. Just coming clean. Alright, so let's try this again. A lot of white, lot of white, lot of white. And actually, there's a touch of that brown in there that almost leave in there. Alright, so it's damp, so I'm going to take a little bit of raw sienna, just a little bit, Get your brush wet, a little bit. I'm going to keep just getting this right in here, right behind that owl is where the color, I want that color. And you can keep working that. Maybe a little bit more blue in there, kind of mixed in. I'm kind of using a scrubbing motion. But make sure that your brush is damp. Don't let that dry out. Alright, I'm loving the bluish brown streaks in that moon. So I think I'm going to leave it. I think we're done. Let's let that dry. Let's move down to the flower. Go ahead and grab the small angle brush and let's add some purple. Did I get purple? Nope. I'm just using dioxazine purple. It's just a dark purple is what you want. If I can get it out. You're not gonna need much. Can't even get. Hold on, guys. Bear with me. Now my lid won't stay on. Alright. Oh my gosh, always get so dirty. Okay, let's go ahead and just get a background, purple background on those flowers, on those petals. You can make it a sunflower if you'd rather. If you want more petals than that, you are more than welcome to add more. I'm going to leave it at that. So let's go ahead and work that. We're going to go brighter from that. So let's just start adding a little bit of water or white as we go. So the middle is going to be a little bit brighter. And don't worry about making your petals perfect. And then we're going to go from that color, we're going to add more white. So we're going to go lighter than that, even lighter than that. So, and we're going to go up here, we're going to go at the tip because the moon is shining on. Over here, we're going to go to the side and then to the side. And I'm going to go the opposite side over here. Just think where that moon might be hitting that flower. Now from there we're going to even add more white. So we're going to have even brighter purple. Now, I don't want you to color it in. I just want you to touch the side that's highlighted. Now, take some off your brush and come back and blend that in just a little bit. And you can come back, if you saved those other colors, you can actually come back and bring in a little bit more if you want to. Some of those darker shades. Now, if you have a little bit light in there, you can come in and do a couple of these little like comma marks, or parentheses. You can throw a couple of those inside that petal in the middle, just to give it a little bit more fun, more depth. Okay, let's go to the center part of it. You could probably use the same brush, same angle brush if that's where you're using. So I'm going to use my raw umber, my dark brown, and I'm going to bring that center out a little bit bigger than what it was. Then I'm going to go to my raw sienna and give it some more up on top. Up on top. I'm going to keep that lower part dark. So let's go back to that raw umber and a little bit of black and do that bottom side. Now, as you see, the moon is coming down like this, so I'm doing that bottom side in a C shape. I hope you guys can see that. I'll hold it up if you cannot. And I'm just working it to the center, into that lighter brown. And then I'm going to take yellow ochre and go up on top. And then I'm going to work that down. Oh, let me hold that up. Can you see the dark and then the light and the transition in the middle? So it's because the moon is shining possibly on the top side of that flower. So I'm going to leave that as is. And I'm going to come back to my pumpkin stems with some cadmium yellow. I come up on top and add a little bit of highlight. And a little bit, maybe a touch on top of that flower center, just for a little bit more. Okay, we are almost done, guys. So we did the moon. We're gonna do that owl. So let's start him out with some raw sienna on his wing and bring it down into that pumpkin. We're gonna have him sitting on that pumpkin. Okay, let's bring his face into it. We can always cover, we're gonna cover up his face, but we're gonna paint that back in. So I'm going on the top of the V on his head, his whole face, and his wing and his back. Okay, so let's lightly bring some into his chest, just almost dry brushing. Now let's add some white to that. Add a little bit of white to his chest. And then add a little bit of black. Actually, you could probably use raw umber if you want. Come right in that, underneath that wing edge to show a shadow. Okay, and you can come back on his back and show that he's got that tail and wing going on. And we're going to darken up some raw sienna with raw umber. and give it a little bit of shadow on that lower part of his wing going into his tail. All right, can you see how it's draping into the pumpkin? All right, so let's go back to raw sienna. I gotta clean my brush. I'm gonna go with some white. Let's just go with plain white right on the edge in front of his chest. Let's go just a little bit around his face. There. Now I'm going to grab some raw sienna, bring that kind of down into the body. There. Okay, we have to bring in some white or light raw sienna and white into his horns. And that light color kind of carries across. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on his face because that's not really the whole thing of the whole picture. So let's get a touch of black. You can use black and raw umber if you want. Let's outline his horns. And the top of his head. I would get a liner brush at this point if you feel more comfortable with that. Okay. Oops. I'm going to clean out my brush here in a second. All right, let's, with that dark color on your brush, I got to change brushes, guys. It's too big, I think. All right, with that dark color, which was raw umber and black, we're gonna make a kind of a whiskery outline. So keep your brush wet. My brush is wiggling too much. And we can go up on top, do the same kind of fuzzy, it's giving him a feathery look, a fuzzier look. So let's go with the same kind of brush strokes down his wing. And let's give him some streaky brush strokes in his chest. Let's fill in that wing just a little bit. Okay, let's go into his face. Let's add some white with raw sienna and a touch of raw umber. Don't mix them in. Let's not mix them in. And we're gonna go from his eyes, we're gonna come out in the same kind of fuzzy brush stroke, okay? I'm going to add that color up on top too. All right, let's bring in some cadmium yellow to that raw sienna because I lost that color and it looks gray now. So I'm going back over that gray, although they do have gray in them. All right, now we're gonna add in some white. Let's just stay with that color and just keep adding white to it. So, of course, we're gonna come up here, up into his ears, so to speak, his horns. This is just, it's an abstract type owl. So, it's not gonna be perfect. I mean, you just want that image that people can relate to an owl. So now I'm gonna add some to his back because that moon is highlighting him. All right, let's keep adding white to that. Bring some in on his chest. Maybe some more streaks up above on his back where the moon is hitting. And then in his face even more. Let's come up into his face, like on his cheeks and cheekbones. Bring in some straight white up into those horns. Just dabs of it. Okay, let's work that in. Let's add a touch. Remember when you mixed blue, Prussian blue and white? Let's grab some of that, and it's going to mix with your brown. Let's come up into his face. Around those eyes, around the beak. In the center. Then we're going to add some of that to the back, because that, it kind of brings the moon into it. Right? Because your moon is blue. You can actually even touch that onto the pumpkins, onto the flower. And that's what ties in a lot of paintings, when you bring in the colors to each part of that painting. All right, I'm really loving him. I'm really, really loving him. Oops, hold on. I'm really liking how it's going, guys. I really am. So let's work a little bit in more of his chest. Kind of shows where that, I think there's too much on the back, so I'm going to come back with some darker. Well, let's see what that raw umber and raw sienna do. There we go. Yeah, now he's got streaks of the black also in there. I like that. So yeah, he's looking much better. All right, let's go and let's finish up his eyes and his beak. And that is, let's go with, all right, I'm going to go to a liner brush, guys. A very tiny liner brush. All right, so I'm getting cadmium yellow and white. Let's go over here. Cadmium yellow and white. It's going to make a brighter yellow and not so transparent, okay? So his eyes on the outside are yellow. So let's give him some color on the outside of his eye, and then his beak. All right, Now let's grab some black, straight black. Don't mix it with anything. You need your liner brush to be at a point. So let's outline, very tiny outline of black around that yellow in his eyes, okay? And let's give his beak a little bit of shape here. Do the same thing with the black. All right, now go into the center of his eyes and make that big round black center. Okay, now we're gonna give him a little highlight from the moon. So go back into your cadmium yellow with your white, mostly white this time, because you basically want a white mark, but it's very, very light, very, very light yellow. So let's give him a highlight. Let's go here, let's do them both the same spot on both eyes. All right? Since I have that light color on my brush, I'm going to go ahead and utilize that with outlining or highlighting some more of that pumpkin edges. Oops. It's fine. It's fine, it's fine. It'll be fine. Maybe even on that flower. Okay guys, actually let's put that away. We're almost done guys. All we have to do is let's outline that stem. I know I said I was going to go in front of it, but let's outline it like he's standing behind it. Okay. Okay. I love his face, don't you? All right, so wet your liner brush down. Let's get some green. And let's get some white at the same time. And some cadmium yellow. So here's what my mess looks like right now, guys. So a mixture of everything. Get your brush wet and you're gonna roll it to make a point. So we're gonna make some vines, all right? Very lightly at the tip of the brush. Just some little ones here, some bigger ones there. Some that are gonna go on the ground. And we're gonna use this mixture for right now, and we can come back and do a darker. I'm gonna pick this up and do some vines along the ground. Oops, did you get that? Just making some vines along the ground. All right, so I'm gonna roll my paintbrush in that mixture again. And let's make some off of the pumpkins itself. Now we're gonna go back with a little bit of dark green and brown to some of these. So Now, you can make as many as you want. I think I'm going to leave it at that though. Now I'm going to go back in with, I'm going to use that same mixture, guys, but let's add some, I need some more raw umber. And get it off. So add a little bit of that dark raw umber to that green mixture that we have. And just go right over top of those vines. Oops, didn't get enough. Go right over top of those vines. I'm going to add a little bit of shadows on the bottom sides. Stand out a little bit more. So that's all I'm going to be doing right now is going back over some of those vines, okay? So if I get quiet, that's all I'm doing. Okay, now let's go in with some white. That mixture, that messy mixture right now, let's bring in some cadmium and some white to go even lighter to get the highlight. And with the highlight, just touch like the tops of the vines that the moon is going to be shining on. Maybe down below. You want to add a vine coming off, right off that stem, you go right ahead. Whoop, like that. Come back in with those other darker colors. Make sure it blends with the rest of them. And we're about done, guys. Just like that. Now you can do less or more, however you want to tweak your painting, but that is the gist of it. And that was a lot of fun, guys. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you post your paintings when you're finished. I'm gonna pull it up closer so you can see it. And so you can see kind of that blending in with that little light tan and the dark and the blue. so that moon has just a little bit more color. So there's my owl guy, and there it is, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and please post your pictures, like I said. You can also paint welcome or fall or whatever word. If you have a stencil, you can put that right over the top if you want. That's totally up to you. You guys take care and God bless. Bye.